What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Good to see you all. I see Bobby, my co-host. You're here in the audience. You have a unique link that you can pop into. And Bobby, I'll make sure that I email that to you right now so it's the top of your inbox. But everybody else, good to see you. I would love to kick this off with kind of a question here in the chat while we get Bobby all set up. And the question is, over the next 3 years, do you think AI is going to do more to augment people or replace people? Over the next 3 years, is AI going to do more to augment people or replace people? So augment, replace. Throw your ideas in the chat. Would love to see what people think. Let's see. And Bobby, I just popped that link back to you so you have it. See, 1 vote for augment. Interesting. Boom, we got Bobby popping on 2. 2 votes for augment. 3, 4. Interesting. So folks are not worried about the AI Terminator coming in and taking everybody's jobs, at least not in the next 3 years. That's reassuring because 2025 has been off to a weird start, hasn't it? Replace for areas that we can have more automation, but typically augment. I like that. So I think the point that Devin's making there in the chat is, and tell me if I get this right, Devin, that there's some areas that are going to be fairly low-hanging fruit or easy to automate, and those AI will do more of the replacement function. But that's not most of the economy. It's not like most of the things that AI can do are automatable yet. So it's probably going to do more for augmentation. Let me know if I got that right, Devin. And Bobby, looks like you just hopped on. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
See, awesome. Well, let's kick this off for today. And the description of today's webinar is, how to select your first AI projects. Whether you're just starting to explore AI or looking to expand its role in your contact center, this session will show you how to select and launch AI projects that drive results from day one. So let's figure out exactly how we can drive these projects. Maybe let's do intros to start. Bobby, if you want to introduce yourself and quick overview Convoso, I'll introduce myself, and then we will kick off the questions. So Bobby, introduction over to you.
Hi, yeah, so I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at Convoso. We're a call center platform for sales and marketing. We've been around for 18 years, and we're the leader in the call center, call center platform for mainly sales, marketing, lead generation.
Awesome. And then Bobby, what's the most exciting technology you guys are working on right now? We've talked about it a little bit in the Reimagine the Contact Center podcast, but a little bit of context there would be awesome.
Well, there's a lot of different things. we went anywhere from like analyzing calls through some of the GPD models to kind of give insights to admins on what's happening, kind of get a better overview of calls, because you can only QA so many things at once, and giving people more insight on their calls was one thing. We've also released this product called Call Catalyst, which help address the new ruling that's going to come out, I think, January 27th, where it's the one-to-one consent. So with Call Catalyst, you still get the ability to do predictive dialing in a way, but the call is initiated by a human. So you have a bunch of clickers in the background, agents that just click to initiate the call, which will satisfy the law of using a predictive dialer when you don't have one-to-one consent. So that's the product we recently launched. That's really helpful for the industry, especially with that law that's coming out. And then we're also doing some integrations. We're now taking Convoso and integrating it natively into a lot of the different CRMs out there. That's going to come out in the next several months, like Salesforce and some of the other big CRMs. And then, just like improving the product where, different regulations are coming out, and we're really taking the what is it called? All the different laws when it comes to, lead, you know, consent and all the different regulations that are happening. We're thinking of what is coming ahead and implementing the rules into the product, like state, what is it called? We have this product where it allows you to implement all the different state rules on when you can call people, when not. So you can customize that, and as the laws come out, you don't have to worry about building something into the platform. It's kind of there, and then you can configure the rules to ensure you follow the state TCPA laws in it. So those are some of the things we've been working on, I think, more or less.
That's awesome. And it's particularly interesting on the compliance side that it's almost a little counterintuitive, because when you think about, where people express, concerns about AI, they say, well, how do I make sure it doesn't, hallucinate and say one thing to this customer where it should say it to another customer? Don't you need kind of a rules-based logic to cover that? But it does sound in a lot of cases like AI is actually getting to the point where it can do these things and make sure it understands all the context behind it. So just because somebody, you're reaching out to them in a certain area code, of a certain state, maybe there's actually more to it than that. And AI is able to kind of put together all these different pieces of information.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's very easily configurable, right? You can prompt the AI to say, look out for this, look out for that, and then using the call data, all that information could be given to the AI in real time, and then the AI can make decisions and let the agent know, hey, don't say that, or what you did say was a mistake, and correct that or whatnot.
Awesome. And great to meet you all as well. I'm Mark Bernstein. I'm the founder and CEO at Balto. And we build a suite of AI tools to help the contact center go fast. So we build for agents, supervisors, quality management teams, and executives. Agents, we actually started off, our foundational product was real-time guidance, analyzing everything that agents are saying, when they say it, everything customers are saying, as customers say it, and on agents' computer screens, giving them guidance to help them be as effective as possible. And we launched that first back in January 2017. So holy crap, it's been 8 years that we've been in this space. Really, really awesome. Supervisors, we help them coach faster. We say, can we eliminate your prep time, eliminate the time you need to spend clicking around, digging around, saying, oh, is this a call I should coach on? Nah, there's nothing there. Is this call I should coach on? Nothing there. Or, okay, this agent, what do I coach them on? Maybe listen to a few calls and try to figure out where their issues are. Let's eliminate the prep time and give that to you right away. Quality, we automate the quality scoring. So for QA teams, we automate the scoring component. QA teams shouldn't have to listen to calls and tick off, 5 points for introduction, 10 points for TCPA. Instead, they should actually be focused on elevating the exceptions. So looking into the stuff where something actually went wrong or went different, and double clicking on those, and then turning the quality organization into a form of insights. If the quality team is able to basically digitize all these calls, turn all these calls into structured data and numbers, where you can have each criterion trending over time and each section trending over time and call scores trending over time, you should be able to dig in and deliver some useful insights to leadership. So we say the two things we're doing for quality teams is elevating them so they're focused on the escalations and the exceptions, and focused on delivering QA insights for leadership. And then leadership, we want to deliver insights for contact center leadership. The idea is it shouldn't be digging around. It shouldn't be traditional speech analytics where you're going in and mining. Instead, it should be low configuration. You pop in and here's something you did not know that helps you make a business decision. Not something tactical of like agent B is doing better than agent A. Like tactical stuff can be handled by other very capable managers in the organization. The executives, we want to give you stuff that can help you make a better business decision. Like, why are my calls getting escalated? And maybe it'll pop out the number one reason. And then why is that reason happening? And why is that reason happening? Kind of allowing you to do a 5 whys analysis. So we're very focused on like very practical AI that you can use to actually get business results and make your contact center faster, which is a good segue for today. So Bobby, let's kick this off. Our first question is around identifying high risk, low impact projects. Let me ask, what criteria do you think businesses should use to help figure out what counts as a high impact, low risk AI project?
Criterias. Well, I mean, you're talking about people who want to start developing things, right?
Sure,
Um,
developing, putting AI projects into their business to try to get some sort of useful outcome.
I'd probably look to see what is it, whatever you want to build. Has it been built already? Is somebody already working on it? Because I'd rather integrate something and spend the engineering efforts to integrate what somebody's focusing on doing. Is it your core competency? Like what is it that you're focusing on? If you're building AI tools and that's what you're offering, yeah, great. You probably want to improve or add functionality. But if you're, like for example, us, a contact center platform, do we want to build a Balto? Probably not. We'll work with Balto and integrate with that. But is there some AI components in there that we want to add because that allows us to route leads better or make better decisions on what to dial? That'll probably be better for us to build in-house because that integrates with our routing and dialing strategies, so that we would focus on working on in-house. And then I'd also figure out to see what skills do we have? Do we have the right people to build those products? Because hiring right and good engineers takes time, and managing them, all that effort is a cost. So I would look at see what are the skills that I have, and what is our core product, and then based on that, make a decision if we're going to build it or integrate with something.
Yeah, and if I could ask maybe a follow-on question to that, I'll give a quick story. I was meeting with kind of a big AI company this week. I don't want to name a specific company, but they had done this monster release over the summer, and tons of press around it, and it kind of launched all these headlines, and almost kind of moved the entire space in a certain direction. And I met with their team this week, and I said, "Hey, so I'd love to see the thing that you demoed, that big release that you did." And they said, "Oh, it actually isn't available now, and we're hoping it'll be ready by next year." Next year. And I was like, "Wait a minute! You were the category leaders that pushed everything in this direction, and it's now like call it 7 months later, and you don't actually have it, and you're not even sure if you'll have it by the next." Big conference that you're doing. That was surprising. So let me ask Bobby, when you're trying to figure out, does it already exist? How does the savvy AI buyer figure out, what is real out there and what really does exist versus, what might represent folks marketing ahead of what they've actually built?
I mean, it's simple, right? You contact the companies and then you ask them to demo it and you play with it, test it out. Because I don't know why companies still do that. I know a lot of big companies, they do that as well. All right, we have all this XYZ product, and then when you come to get it, well, it's not released yet, or we're gonna release it at this time. If I can't play with it and I can't touch it, then to me it doesn't exist. So go out there and look for X amount of people that are have it available and test it out and see how it works.
Yep. And I'll provide a thought on the question as well. How do you find a high impact, low risk AI project? I might actually even say the question's a little bit skewed, because I actually don't think your first AI project needs to be high impact. Like if it can, awesome. If you get a big return on it, great. But I think the most important thing is your first AI project is low risk. Find something that won't fail. Like you do not need to hit a home run, in your first swing. Find something where you are doing your research, where you find technology like this really will help us, big or small. You go, you advocate for it, leadership gives you the thumbs up, you implement it, the implementation goes as you think it will, and then ultimately look at the results, you say, hey, it did what we wanted it to. I think that's the number one priority. And then you can find higher and higher and higher impact things. But I would start by saying, what AI project can you find that has a 99% probability of success? Find the stuff that's like so simple, so obvious, like so easy to set up that you're not, doing this project for a year and going, oh, it's been a disaster. And everyone goes, yeah, we tried AI last year and it hasn't really been successful. So when you come back for more money or more budget or whatever, they say, oh, well, I don't know. You're gonna have to prove it. Like, don't deal with that. Like try to get something that is low risk, that definitely works, and then you can build on your successes. It's just different from a momentum perspective.
And to add to that, what I would say is, I guess and I've done some AI projects and they failed. So what I would say is, one, don't build everything all at once. That's like one mistake I did. Just find. I guess the first thing what I would do is either you are your own customer, meaning you have, X amount of people that are in-house that are going to ready to use it. You have 10, 15 people that are going to use that product. Or if not, find some customers that you have good relationships with and that are really interested and will try out the product. Have a decent amount of people, so at least once you have it built, people are going to start using it and give you feedback. I think that's the most important. Having users or having some kind of a commitment that you can count on, that once you have it built, these people will spend the time testing it. If you don't have that, it's just really risky. Whatever it is, even if it's some prototype you want to build, you have nobody to play with it. So at that point, it's useless, right? You build a product, nobody can use it, or nobody's willing to use it. So I think the most important thing is get X amount of people that you can rely on that will, use the product, and then come up with a prototype, a very basic version. Like our CTO, he always reminds me, like, look, just build something basic, get something very basic going, so at least there's some value that will get out of it that continues, that allows them to continue using it, and then start off with the bare minimum MVP and get adoption. I think the most important thing is getting adoption. If you don't have any adoption, nothing else matters. So I'd say that's what I would focus on the most to lower the risk of the product failing.
Yeah, Bobby, you gave me two pretty good thoughts there, so I don't even want to move on to the next question yet. The first is you were talking about how you've experienced your share of failures, and my thoughts are for folks in the webinar, like, perfect. Let the tech companies fail. Let us fail. You don't need to be the ones that fail. Let us try the crazy stuff where we're trying to reinvent the world, and that thing didn't work, but this thing did. Like, it's our job, and if you want to, you can, but it's our job to be the ones that try things and fail and are on the cutting edge. If you're trying to choose your first AI projects, find the stuff that's not going to fail. Find the stuff that's like definitely solid and working. So that's kind of the reason the economy is broken up the way it is, because it should be tech companies' core competency to figure this stuff out and to push the envelope. And then the second thought I had is, you were talking about the importance of testing, Bobby, and there's this awesome podcast I'd recommend to everybody. It was the Lex Friedman podcast with the Anthropic team, their CEO Dario, and they have a whole bunch of other folks from the Anthropic team. It's a long one. It's like 5 hours, but you actually get a really good download of what are the leading people in AI thinking? Like, what are they talking about? What are they working on? And one of the AI leaders was the person who engineers the system prompt for Claude. Claude is basically Anthropic's ChatGPT. And entering the system prompt means that this person is writing instructions for how Claude should respond. So what should its personality be like? Should it be friendly? Should it be direct? Should it answer your questions with questions to get better understanding? And basically, she's putting in prompts. And the one of the things she said that stuck with me is she said that if you are implementing an AI technology and you've spent the time to engineer this thing, you should spend just as much time making sure the prompts are good, making sure the testing is good, making sure that you write in natural language good instructions for it, because the model is only as good as how you prompt it and the instructions you give it for what you want it to do. So to Bobby's point, if you don't have expertise in how to write good prompts, or you don't have the people to learn how to do it, or you're not excited to dig in and figure that out, that might mean that you got to get that foundation set before you invest in AI, because the prompts that you write are truly going to dictate the outcomes you get. In fact, Balto, for our customers, we have an in-house prompt engineering team, and in some cases, we don't even let the customers touch it. We're like, listen, we're going to write the prompts for you guys because we want to make sure it works. And if you have the expertise and you want the keys, feel free, but we're just going to write the prompts because some of them can be paragraphs. to get a really good prompt so it gives you exactly what you're looking for. I'll move on here to the next question about automation. Automating the right tasks, but being careful not to over-automate, automating things that shouldn't be automated. Bobby, how can businesses decide which tasks are ideal for automation versus those that still today should require a human?
Great question. Well, I think as time will pass, it'll be more and more automated by an AI because an AI will can already today understand sentiment, right? So it could be sensitive to somebody's frustration, anger, or whatever it is that they're upset with. So in the future, I think in the next several years, probably most of it will be automated. But today, I think because people aren't used to it, automate some of the simple tasks like collecting information, kind of getting the mundane tasks out of the way, letting AI do that first. And then when it comes to more of that negotiating or the part where people still want to talk to a human and have that feeling of caring and whatnot, then escalate that from a AI to a human. So I think that's still going to be needed in the next year or so. But I think like in a couple of years from now, people are just going to be comfortable talking to robots because they're going to be more efficient. They're going to be faster. They're going to have a lot more information at hand. They're going to be more intelligent. So, we're going to most likely prefer talking to an AI than a human in the next several years is my guess. That's what I think is going to happen probably.
Yeah, I think something pretty similar. I think today, is the AI capable of that? Can it do this? Is it able to negotiate? Does it have a natural sounding, conversational style? Those are questions today about can it do this? But I think that soon the question of is it competent won't really be a question anymore. And it'll be like, do we prefer that? Do we prefer an AI doing something or prefer a person doing something? I'll tell you all a story. This happened literally 30 minutes ago. My mother-in-law was sending me a whole bunch of text messages. And she has a very expressive communication style. And I was like, I showed it to my wife. I said, I have no idea what your mom is saying. I have no idea. And I joked, I said, why don't I send it to ChatGPT? And my wife said, okay, do it. So I sent ChatGPT and said, what is my mother-in-law saying? And it gave like a perfect explanation of, here's how she's articulating her ideas. And then I went a step further and I was like, wow, it's amazing. I was like, can you deduce what my mother-in-law's personality is like from this text message? And it wrote up this profile about, her personality. And I showed it to my wife and she said like, wow, I feel like my mom has not been that well understood by anybody. So how crazy is it? The idea of like understanding another human being we think is a very visual human thing. I just uploaded, call it 7 text messages to ChatGPT, and it gave a profile of her creativity and her energy and her desire to help others. And it was like pretty profound. So I definitely want to prepare people for an era where I think that AI will be as capable as a person. I think that's coming very soon. So then the question about what should you automate and what should you be careful not to automate? I think the idea is you need to have a good idea of how you want the AI to do it. So if your process isn't clear, your instructions aren't clear, you haven't mapped out what does the ideal interaction look like, or what was the ideal answer, or do I want to solve the problem with a ton of detail or just kind of make it basic? Like you kind of need to map that stuff out. So once you have a really good idea of what you want the solution to be, AI is going to do it great and can automate it. But if your idea is flimsy, it's going to go in whatever direction it goes, and you might end up being disappointed because you had something different in your head.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the prompting, like you said, the prompting is probably the most important.
Yeah. So I'll ask the audience a question before I move on to the next one here. Folks in the audience, do you have something fun that you've used AI for in the last day or the last week? Can you think of a fun question that you asked it or something that you used? And I'll contribute one real quick. I use it for cooking all the time now. I ask it, I say, hey, I want to make, yesterday was beef short ribs. Tell me what I need and tell me how to do it. I've never done it before. And it gave me an awesome beef short rib recipe, and it rocked. So I'd love to hear in the chat, if you got it, what's something cool that you use AI for? We can kind of share that a little bit. And while folks are doing that, the next question I have is about ROI, measuring what matters, finding ROI on day one. Bobby, would love your thoughts on what are some of the important metrics that folks should have to measure the success of an AI project when they're getting started with it?
I mean, that's kind of hard to answer because it depends on, what depends on what is it that they're building. Um, I think these days there's just so many companies, so many people are building everything, and with AI now, like I don't like if I ever want to code something, I'm just so lazy. I just go to my editor and like kind of explain to the AI what to code, and it just codes it for me. So technically, you don't even need to know how to program. You can just tell the AI to program things for you, and you still have to have an understanding how the code runs and whatnot. I think the ROI, what I would focus on to see is like whatever it is that I'm building, do I have a user base that's using it? Is that user base going to grow? Is that user base going to stick around? Um, you know, uh, if it's a new project, I would look at see really how long is this product going to last? Am I going to continue being able to sell it or provide that value because there's 10 other people right now probably building the same thing, and what is the investment you have behind you? Do you have enough resources to continue dropping, loads of cash into it to build up the user base to, have that product out there and continuously improving it and staying one step ahead. So I'd look at to see like how much cash do we have to burn, and how committed are you? When with anything I've ever started, there was no failure. I don't care. It's gonna work. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna get people to buy it, and I'm gonna continue improving it and listen to customers to see what is it that they need that others aren't listening to that we need to build to make the product great. And having that commitment of we can't fail. This is going to work one way or another, even if it means that I have to be up 16 hours a day doing everything myself. So I think those kind of are the things that you have to consider. And if you don't have that mindset, then just don't risk doing anything because you're going to have competition. There will be times where whatever it is that you want to build has problems. There will be weeks and months where you're not going to get customers, and you're going to feel like this is not going to work, but you'll just have to keep talking to people until you find somebody that's willing to give it a try and work and play with it. So that determination and commitment, I think that is something that you have to have. And if you're willing to die trying, then that's kind of like, I think what's needed. And the ROI is really adoption. I wouldn't even care to make money, break even, get people to use it and just charge them some intro fee just to cover your costs. If you have to, if not, you can give it for free, even better. But the ROI is adoption. That's the first ROI I'm looking at before anything else. And if more and more people adopt it and they use it and they give you feedback and they enjoy it and they like it, I think after that everything else kind of works itself out.
Bobby, that's awesome. Let's for a second double click on both of those aspects. Competition, choosing what's worth building, and then adoption. Let's maybe give everyone a little bit of like inside baseball on like the blessing and the curse, how exciting it is, but also how stressful it is to be running an AI company in 2025. You mentioned there's a million competitors popping up left and right. It's easier than ever to start a company and be like, I'm jumping in the space. I want to compete. And it's also easier to build new capabilities, so you can compete. So I'd love to hear your thought, Bobby, and then I can share mine as well. Of like, how do you decide whether something is the thing that you should be building? Because it's so easy to go, someone else is going to build it. Anyone can build it. Why would I build that? How do you decide, like, you know what, that's something that I think we should have, at Convoso?
Well, for one, your core competency, right? Like, what is it that you provide? If it matches that, that's the first question. Like, does it add to your product, or is it something completely new that you're building? If it complements your product, that's the first question. Then the second thing, is um, you just have to interview customers. And even though we interview customers and we've tried and we tell them this is what we're going to build, and they're all excited and they're like, yes, we're going to use it. Even then, after that, we've built it, and then they're like, well, we're busy right now, or we have this going on, or it just takes forever to get adoption. So I think you know it's being patient. And oftentimes, I mean, this is something that keeps happening to us. We build a product, and this happened like almost with everything, and it's like way ahead of its time. Even though that's something that people can use right now, people won't really get to adopt it until everybody starts using it. They're like, oh, by the way, we need this functionality. Oh, yeah, we built it 2 years ago. Thank God you guys are finally like catching up to using it. So I think patience in getting people to adopt it is a big key. There's so many times we've built products where it took several years before people started really using it, and that's kind of like it's kind of part of the game, right? You build knowing everybody needs it, but as a visionary, you're always like thinking X amount of years ahead, knowing that people should use it today. Although, you know, even though they should use it, and they will get a lot of value out of it, everybody's so busy with the day to day running the business that they don't realize, like, hey, this is something I should start using now to catch up with these issues that this product will help me solve. They kind of don't do that until they're in a situation where they don't have a choice. Like, okay, I'm failing right now as a business because I don't have this implemented. I have to start implementing this. And oftentimes I see customers only implementing these products at that point when they're desperate and don't have a choice, rather than being proactive and growing the business and solving some of their day-to-day problems by having this technology implemented. So I think I think that's kind of what happens. Um, but I don't know if I answered your question. What was the question again? It was
No,
regarding
that's awesome.
what.
The heart of the question was, how you decide if something's worth investing in. And, I heard you talk about be proactive. So like build ahead of the curve, but also be patient. And I can tell you that, like, if I go back and say, what are some of the biggest mistakes that that I've made or that Balto's made, I'd be like, lack of patience. Being like, you release the first version, you go, I guess people don't like it. But it's like, you actually have to take your time. Remember, this is part of the technology process. Your technology is maturing, the market's maturing. Like, take your time and be patient. And then, so I think the combination of proactive, patient, listen to your customers,
Yeah.
that's kind of the formula. Like, if I were writing, a new guidebook for, tech entrepreneurs, I would say proactive, patient, listen to your customers. That's probably like the way to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely listen to your customers. I think that's like one of the most important.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to your customers, we always think we know what's best for the customer, but that's typically not true. The customer knows what's best for them. So talk to all of them, and then kind of find patterns. And in my opinion, don't just talk to like one or two people. Talk to as many people as you can. Get 10 people and interview them, because it's very easy to find a couple people that have the same opinion, but it turns out that 8 out of 10 have a completely different opinion, and what's important to them is not the same as the first two. So do your homework, talk to as many customers as possible, and you will see a pattern on what's most important for them. And usually it's not what you think it is. I've found time after time, I thought this is what we have to do, and then we do the interviewing afterwards, and turns out that they need something completely different. I've learned that lesson recently again, even though I know I should have interviewed customers first. So that's, I think, one of the biggest problems as a person that tries to solve a problem, and a visionary builder of a product. We always think we know, but we typically only have portion of that answer. The what's really needed and information to build a successful product comes from the customer. So talk to customers.
Yeah. I'll add on to the bit that you mentioned about adoption, Bobby. And if you're thinking, again, give me a framework for how I can judge if this thing is successful. And you mentioned adoption. And I would say a useful framework might be adoption, accuracy, outcome. First of all, are people using it? If it's a bot, are your customers using it? Are they sending a bunch of, like, is there activity, right? Or if it's internal, are your internal people using it? You shouldn't expect that, you turn it on and it's at 100% and just stays here. Like, you should expect kind of a growing, growing momentum. And in some cases, you should expect the momentum grows, that some people quit and get tired of it, and then it dips back down and plateaus, right?
Yeah.
But you should be tracking adoption over time. It's not just like, do we have good adoption? Yes, no, we're done. It's like, that's something that you should be keeping a pulse on. Accuracy is super important, and a lot of people don't want to track it because it's hard and annoying to track, and because they also look at it as point in time. So accuracy, it breaks down into two different types in the data world. They'll say precision and recall, which is basically false positive and false negative. Precision, did the AI come up with an answer that was wrong? Did the AI say, oh, I found a call where there's a compliance violation, and you check it and it's just fine, there's no compliance violation. Recall is the opposite. Is there a call where a compliance violation happens, but the AI missed it, right? So you can actually measure both of those things, but it takes a person going and checking what the AI did X number of times. We'll often do, when we're kind of onboarding a customer, something like 75. So we'll go through about 75 interactions, which means we have a person listening to 75 phone calls to make sure that the AI is performing accurately for our customers. But you got to have an idea of what the number is. And again, it's not a binary, is it accurate, yes or no? It's how accurate. And then you go, okay, what are our levers to make it more accurate? That being said, these LLMs are getting good enough that your accuracy should start in the 90s, depending on the complexity of the task, whatever it is, maybe high 80s. But in general, if you're applying an LLM to something, if the data set is reasonable and something that the AI can read, it should be accurate more than 9 out of 10 times. A lot of times we'll see things in the high 90s. For example, some of the easier QA criteria that our AI will score will be 100% accurate. Like, it is, an LLM will not make a mistake on, did the rep introduce themselves? As long as it fed the right data to the LLM, even if the rep goes, howdy, they'll know. They'll be like, well, howdy is considered an introduction in some in some southern states. Like, it'll figure that out. So just make sure that you actually get a pulse on it and you're measuring it. You're not just hiding your head under the covers. Like, just understand the accuracy. And then the last bit, outcome. Somebody in your organization needs to go all the way to the end and say, ultimately, did the AI result in something that is saving our people time or making us money? Are we saving money or making money? It has to. Because otherwise, it's a fluffy AI technology that some CFO a year from now is going to look at when the renewal comes up and say, what are we doing with this? And then everyone goes, oh, people like it. And it's like, well, but so what? Like, is it saving money or making money? It has to do one of those things in some way, shape, or form. So ultimately, you can look at leading indicators of that and say, is it saving people time? Like, make sure you go and check a couple times. So we, for example, have a note taker. It'll do note taking in real time for agents. So they just hit the copy notes button, or it can save directly to Salesforce, and they don't have to write their own notes. Go check When agents do that, is that faster than them writing their own notes? Go check. So that's the thing, is just make sure that at the end of this thing, you're checking. And by the way, if the answer is nope, not actually saving time, that's not the worst thing in the world, because now you know. And now you can say, well, what needs to be different? What needs to be better? But what you don't want to do is get to the, a year after you've launched this AI project and no one actually checked if it's doing any important outcomes for the business. We have
and to add,
left. Go ahead, Bobby.
real quick, to add to the adoption part, this is really important. Like, you will see this and then it'll drop. Like, you'll see in the beginning, a couple user using it and they stop using it. You'll see that constant up and down in my experience. What's important is to just keep working with sales and marketing and pushing it to them constantly. You have to constantly be involved, team up with them, or if it's just one entity, you have to keep pushing this, because for the first 3 to 6 months, people are going to drop off. They're gonna they're gonna test it and something's happening. They got busy or they didn't get the outcome they wanted. Find out why. Why are they dropping off? That's probably like one of the most important tasks besides talking to customers on what they like. The second most important is, well, if they stop using it, why did they stop using it? You have to get that feedback, because obviously something failed. So you either sold it to the wrong person, the wrong profile you're going after, or the product that you've built has problems, or maybe their understanding of what sales and marketing let them know was wrong. Whatever it is, you will need that feedback on why these people are dropping off, and then use that to improve the product or the marketing messaging and whatnot. So I think getting that feedback and not getting discouraged. That's the up and down will happen for a while until you get momentum. I'm just gonna add that.
Bobby, I love that, and I'll add a thought onto that. But first, I want to show folks here. We have, if you want to see more from Convoso, QR code right there for you. If you want to book a demo with Balto, QR code for you here, or subscribe for updates. I actually don't know what that does, so somebody tell me. I'm sure you'll get updates from Balto or Convoso or whatever. It sounds fun. And Bobby, I'll add to that. It's the concept of survivorship bias, right? That usually the people who quit your technology are not loud about it. That's not always the case, but usually people, who drop off and say, I'm not using this AI anymore, just quietly don't use it anymore. So when you have the ability to find those users and say, hey, what about it didn't work? What about it didn't help you achieve your outcomes? That's really, really valuable, because usually they just kind of go into the ether.
That's gold. Like, it's the most important, honestly, because you spend all that effort, energy, and money to get to that answer. You need to know why they're failing, because that's what you're paying for.
Folks, this was a lot of fun. Great session. Thank you all for joining us. Please, if you're interested, hit that QR code, see more from Convoso. They're awesome. Absolutely one of Balto's favorite partners. Book a demo with Balto. We want to show you our stuff. We want to show the world. Hit that QR code, book a demo with us. You can do both. And then subscribe for updates, the mystery updates. And maybe you guys can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm linkedin.com/in/Balto CEO, and let me know what you find there. But Bobby, thank you for your time. This has been fun.
Yeah, likewise.
Cool. See you, everybody. Enjoy your day.